and welcome back to CityLine. With me, I have someone that I would put in the group that if I was on a desert island, I'd want to be with them because they have so many talents. We would never be bored. I'm talking about Lori Davenport. She is the communications director for Tacomaprobono. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I got it right.
Yes.
Yes. My dear, welcome back. Boy, I haven't seen you in person for quite some time, but when I was seeing you on a regular basis, boy, the heat was on in terms of evictions, in terms of people, in terms of heartbreak. It's been rough.
Yeah, we have really been through it.
Yeah, we have. We've been through the ringer.
Yeah.
So remind folks of the important work Tacomaprobono community lawyers do in our community before we get into the state of evictions and rental protections.
Absolutely. So we are a legal aid organization. We provide civil legal aid, which means really anything that isn't a defense of a criminal charge. And so it's big. It's family law, it's wills, it's contracts, it's all kinds of things that happen to people. The biggest stuff we do is family law and housing evictions. So
That is huge.
Yeah.
And when we say pro bono, it is
everything
pro bono.
everything we do is free. We have staff attorneys. We also have a number of wonderful volunteer attorneys who do work for us. So everything is free.
That is incredible. I hope that when people are listening right now, they're writing down quickly on their hands Tacomaprobono,
Yes.
because you can put that into a Google and up
Yeah.
you guys pop.
We will pop up.
You
Yeah.
will. And what we'll also see is we'll see the phrase Housing Justice Project. Is that a part of Tacomaprobono community lawyers?
It sure is. Housing Justice Project is, oh man, I started fighting for us to have a Housing Justice Project back in 2002.
Whoa!
And it took a long time, but we now have a really robust Housing Justice Project, which I think amounts to a total of about 30 people at least.
Wow.
Most of whom are attorneys. So it's the biggest part of our program, but it is part of us because most people who are facing housing issues, eviction issues, that kind of thing, are probably also dealing with other legal issues.
Yes.
And so it's great that we have Housing Justice Project as part of our larger program so that if people are, for instance, if part of their issue is a domestic violence issue, we can help with that. If part of their
Yes.
issue is that they, it's a probate issue and they got stuck in a house that they can't afford or don't, you know, we can help work out the court stuff about that. It can get really complicated. So because we're so big and we include the Housing Justice Project, we can really do a lot of wraparound stuff.
And one of the things that amazes me about your office is for a legal focused oriented office, you allow walk-ins.
Oh, yes.
Which is incredible. I mean, that's kind of unheard of. Usually it's call the machine and hope that somebody will call you back within 48 hours. But you allow people who really need it, are desperate, to walk in and talk with someone face to face.
We do, and has always been really important to me. We have not always been able to do it, but we are completely super dedicated to making sure that people have as many different ways as we can make possible to access us.
Lowering barriers.
So, yep.
Boy, if that's not like a sideline for what Tacomaprobono does.
That's it.
I don't know what is. So during COVID pandemic, evictions greatly slowed because of, we had some good temporary protections for renters and for landlords. Now the pandemic is over. And the eviction numbers in Pierce County, are they higher or are they lower?
Well, actually, they never really came back up to normal levels after the eviction moratorium ended, partly because we still had some protections. Even though the moratorium ended, evictions started up again. We had what we call the Eviction Resolution Pilot Program, or ERPP, which I'm sure everybody has heard of and wasn't really sure what it was, but actually it was very effective in our county because it included mandatory offering of a payment plan, it included mandatory mediation. People had to go through a lot of steps in order for an eviction to happen, and that gave people time to access rental assistance. Pierce County's rental assistance was awesome, so we really kind of kept a lot of people from being evicted through that program. The program ended June 30th.
Wow, just a couple weeks ago.
ERPP is no longer.
All right.
So people need to know that. Starting May 1st, landlords were no longer required to offer a payment plan. So that part of it went away. Starting June 1st, that everything kind of started to wind down because of that. And as of July 1st, landlords are not required to offer a payment plan. They're not required to give notice about the ERPP because it's not happening any longer. So those protections that were kind of keeping things at a lower level are gone, but we're not seeing the end yet. What we think is going to happen is that we'll see a ramp up in evictions, probably in a couple of months. So we'll see what happens.
So when you think about those temporary protections and the programs that have expired or are expiring, what remains for tenants besides, and not, this is not in terms of, it's not enough because Tacomaprobono and Housing Justice Project is a gift. But what protections remain if they are not aware of your services?
This is huge because rental assistance is really absent now, and it was there was so much money for a while. It really kind of helped out a lot. People are noticing that, oh my God, things are really changing. What people need to remember is that as a result of the pandemic, we went through some really huge changes in Washington's landlord-tenant law. We now have appointed counsel, which means that if you're low income, you're facing an eviction, you receive paperwork, you have a court date, our Housing Justice Project has attorneys to represent you. You need to show up to court, you need to come and get us right away if you see those papers. But that's a state program. There's a statute that says this needs to happen. It's not going away. It's not a temporary COVID protection. Our state was one of the first, we were the first to institute that. So that's a big deal. The other thing that's a big deal is just cause, which is something that people have been fighting for a long time. That is part of state law. It's part of our landlord-tenant law. A landlord has to have one of 16 good reasons to evict a tenant.
And those 16 reasons add up to a just cause.
Correct. They all have to be good reasons, and that it's a comprehensive list. It's it's good for landlords. It's good for tenants. It's not, but because of that, everyone has to. You can't just be evicted.
Right.
You can't. The sheriff is not just going to come to your door because your landlord said that's what's going to happen. Right. You have to have a court order. You have to go to court. And if you go to court and you're low income, our housing justice attorneys will represent you. So, so that's big. And people need to realize that because those protections are still there, if say you're looking at an eviction, even if it's just because you haven't paid your rent, the ERPP isn't there anymore, you can't afford your apartment because they just raised the rent, basically, you're probably going to have to leave. Don't leave just because, you have to stay in your home. Stay in your home. Don't leave. You can't avoid having an eviction on your record by leaving your place. Not going to happen.
That is, that's something that you've taught me as we've talked leading up to this, all during COVID, you and Mark. We talked about what to do if you get an eviction notice on your door. And it sounds like as of today, the 13th of July, if you have an eviction notice on your door or you woke up this morning and there was one, the first thing they need to do is get a hold of you.
Yes. Contact us right away.
All right.
And right now we have summer hours, which are a little bit less than winter hours, but you can still walk in. Our Housing Justice Project is located at 601 Tacoma Avenue South, which is right at the intersection of Tacoma Avenue South and the famous 6th Avenue. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Right there.
We're very accessible, 1:30 to 3:30 Monday through Thursday. You can walk in. You can also, this is actually the fastest, fill out our online intake form that's on our website. That will immediately get routed to the right place.
Nice.
And make sure you let people know that you what paperwork you have and that you're facing an eviction. You can also call 572-5134, and someone will, between our open hours, 10 to noon.
Right.
And someone will answer, someone will do an intake for you, and we'll make sure you get to the right place. So all those are possible. And you can also come to one of our pop-up events.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So legal pop-ups, they're everywhere.
Yes.
What should we know about them, and who are they for in this last minute 30?
Okay, so the pop-ups are all over, and you can look at our website, probono.org, and it's called an events calendar. All
yes.
of them are there. They're at Pierce County Libraries, they're at Tacoma Libraries, they're at other organizations around the county, like Eastside Family Resource Center, a couple places on Key Peninsula that we go. So look it up. We're there for anybody who wants to come, anybody who has a question, a legal issue. If you've got eviction paperwork, that's a great place to bring it, because we can scan it and we can connect you with the paralegals and attorneys who do that work right away. So as we look, maybe evictions are going to be ramping up. That's another place you can come visit us and get connected.
And once again, Tacoma Pro Bono, lowering barriers.
Yep.
Barriers of, I don't have a computer, I'm much better in person, and can't I just call you, or can I walk in? The answer is yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Lori, I don't know how you stay vibrant and creative and thriving like you do, because you and your team have been in the trenches for quite some time. I want to say thank you so much for your resilience and for your human kindness during this time. And I want to have you back on very, very soon.
Thank you, Amanda. We love coming here.
My pleasure, my dear. All right, Tacoma Cease Fire is going to be in the house after a little bit of dancing around. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.